Stephen, you've decided to step down as reserves manager. I'm sure this was a tough decision for you, but one that you've taken care of, and explain just exactly why you've made this decision.
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest, it's with a heavy heart. It's not the club, it's nothing to do with the club. It sometimes boils down to individual decisions. I think for myself first and foremost, but also for the young players. I just think sometimes, when you work with young players for such a long time, that sometimes they need a little change of direction. They need a different voice, a different leader, to try and push them on. Now, I came in here 3.5 years ago, and probably on a regular basis now, there's very few of that initial squad now train with me. So I almost feel it's job complete. We had a young squad when I came in at 16, 17 year olds. The aim was to try and promote as many as we possibly could into the first team. I had no idea how it was going to go. I've been honest, the club probably didn't know how it was going to go. So it's went better than I ever imagined. The standard of player, the way that they've progressed has been terrific. It's almost at the start of another cycle, which could be another 3.5, 4 year cycle. We brought a lot of young 16, 17 year olds in this year. And sometimes I think it's important for young players to have variety with coaching, with methods. There's not an awful lot can change, but just a little different direction, Lewis. It's going to be an important part of their career. And I just think it's a job for someone who is fresh, is new. I remember speaking to Jonathan Johansson when he left and I took over the reins, and he said to me, you'll know when your time's up, you'll know your shelf life. You'll just get a feeling about it. And this is not a decision I've taken overnight or last week. I've probably been speaking to my family about it for quite a long time, trying to work out when the best time is to finish up. More for my own sake, for a little bit more freedom. For the young players, as I say, to have a little bit more direction or different direction, to try and get them into the first team, try and follow. So the decision has been taken. As I say, it's not been easy. It's not been an enjoyable time for me. There never is a perfect time when you're going to leave a role. And, some people may look and think, is there underlying issues? There's absolutely not. This is a club. I've been here 18.5 years over playing and coaching. I'm friendly with everyone. Manager is one of my best mates. Working closely with Keith Lasley and Steve McManus. So there's no issue. That it's just a personal situation that I find myself in. I just think it's best for me to step on. The reserves has been, different, shall we say. The under-20s was terrific development football. Not an awful lot's changed in that front. Whether it's a name change. But I just think on the basis of me looking forward and what I want to do and what my aspirations are, I just think it's sometimes nice to step away from something and have a bigger look at life.
Yeah, and you and I obviously speak regularly and reflecting on games, different matches, and particularly with the Iron Brew Cup, there's that sort of competitiveness. But do you feel almost a little bit frustrated sometimes in the role with the maybe lack of competitiveness at times, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely. I think initially when it was changing the reserves, the biggest frustration for myself and speaking to a lot of other development managers at the time who then became reserve managers, no one ever came and asked us any questions. No one ever asked, do you think this will work? How will it go? We sold this beautiful dream of how it was all going to change. Nothing's changed really. If anything we're getting this season, we're getting a lot of mismatches in games. At least at development football, you had a rough idea what kind of team is turning up. We've lost a game 6-2. We've won a game 6-1. There's no consistency. First team players are dropping down at times and they're not getting anything out of games. Young players are getting pulverised in some games at all different clubs. There's no competitive edge in the game for me. So that was a sense of frustration. On the Iron Brew Cup, that probably kept me going, if I'm honest. And I remember that night, it was a Saturday night after we played Ross County. I was going to Belfast to work for BBC Northern Ireland on the Northern Ireland game the next day. And I thought, that's my time, I think. Just because with such a high, with such emotion, watching the players building up, beating Sligo, beating East Stirling, beating Dundee, the excitement they had, that it generated. And I almost sat in the flight that night and thought, I'm never going to see some of these players again. And I thought, it was almost like a culture shock for me. I think, I'm going back to, we're going back to the start to do this all again. And it takes a big energy and a big effort. You're a psychologist, you're a manager, you're a coach, you're a mentor, you're a father figure sometimes, so it takes an awful lot out of you, if I'm being brutally honest. It's been thoroughly enjoyable, I've loved it. But that almost plays into the coming together. It takes a fresh approach sometimes, and someone with renewed enthusiasm. Not saying I haven't got the enthusiasm for it, but someone renewed who really wants to come in and make a point like I did 3.5 years ago. and that's another reason, as I say, just for handing over the reins.
Yeah. And of course, when you did speak to the manager, I know you spoke to a lot of people about this decision. It's not one you've taken lightly, as you said, but when you did speak to him and the guys here, what was that sort of response? Obviously, everyone will be sad to see you go, but I'm sure they can understand as well.
Yeah, Stephen's the perfect example for me, because, you know, we worked together a few years ago at Northern Ireland, but he worked at under 16, under 17, under 19 youth internationals, and he said himself, there comes a stage where you almost want to challenge yourself to something different. Now, I'm not going to a job, there's no job for me, I'm not leaving here and suddenly going to pop up somewhere else next week. He said there comes a time where you almost want to, when you go higher up, if that's where I want to end up, I don't know yet, there's more of a tactical side of the game, there's more challenges as opposed to just doing passing drills and possessions, and it's a little bit different, you know, and I kind of got that feel from the Iron Brew Cup. I keep going back to that, but that's where you got that sense of it, Lewis, you know. So he fully understood, you know, when he left the Irish FA to come to Motherwell to work with him, Barraclough, he thought it was a next step for him. He thought it was a next opportunity to really go and test himself. And for me, then he's been a shining light from that, you know, going to Oldham, you know, not succeeding, coming back here and pushing on. So he understood, you know, and I've spoken to a lot of people within the game who have worked in youth football, and they say the same. It's almost just a shelf life you get to, and you think, you know, you either have to go somewhere else and do it, or, you know, you step up a ladder, or you don't coach again. Yeah. That's the three decisions you have to make. So there's been a lot of sense spoken with people that, you know, that I've related to, and the feedback has been quite similar, that they've had their own experiences. So I'm not the first one to do it, and I'll certainly not be the last.
No, of course. And obviously you touched on your media responsibilities and all the work that goes on there, Craigs, and aside from just that, what do you believe the future will hold for you then?
Well, listen, I don't know. You know, I'm fully aware of, you know, my media stuff isn't going to last forever either, Lewis, you know. Of course, we had a bit of bad news a few weeks ago with BT, but listen, that's life. But it's been quite a busy time over the past 3.5 years. You know, I have a sense of responsibility to my family as well, if I'm brutally honest. You know, sometimes my days off is driving to Aberdeen and back, which is fine. I'm the one that chose to do those two jobs, so I've no issues with it. But somewhere along the line, I think it's nice to give a little bit back. So I'm almost looking for a little bit of downtime initially, with, you know, having a couple of days to catch myself on. I have a couple of other things I want to, you know, try and pursue, people I've got to speak to, just to see where my life's going to go. I don't know. You know, have I enjoyed the coaching? Yes, it's been terrific. And you get that sometimes from the people you work with, and I don't just mean the players, I mean the staff, the surrounding, the support you get. It's been nothing but encouragement since I came to the football club, or I came back to the football club. But then you have the inspiration of players. You know, they're the ones that make your day better. They're the ones that brighten up your day. They're the ones that make you want to go home and do another session for the next day. You know, and we've had a lot of success over here in the last 3.5 years. You know, from winning, you know, I think our first major trophy at under 20 level. You know, playing in 2 semi-finals, playing in 3 quarter-finals, one of which was the first time a coach team has ever reached it in the Iron Brew Cup. I think we've 11 or 12 debuts. Chris Cadden being under 21 at the National, Alan Campbell making 21s, David Turnbull under 20, Shea Gordon under 21 Northern Ireland. So you get a lot of satisfaction from that. You know, and you almost become like a nervous father when they're playing in the games, because you think, I've played a small part. And it's not just my small part, it's a small part of the academy initially bringing them through, but the brave decision of the manager to have to put them in. That's what it all boils down to. So, you know, we can coach and cajole all we want. He has to make a decision, and I don't think they've let him down.
So, well, you can look back on your time here, of course, like you mentioned, the Youth Cup, the young boys coming through that you're so proud of, but not just that, your history with the club, obviously from your playing days, captain in the club, caretaker, manager, reserves or under 20s as it has been. So it must be that heavy heart that you talk about that you leave with.
Yeah, you do, because, you know, I've been in Scotland 24, 25 years, and I think 18 and a half or 19 years of those has been involved with this football club. I left home as a 17-year-old to come and be a footballer at Motherwell Football Club. Didn't know an awful lot about it. Didn't know if it'd be here for a year or 10 years. You know, so the club's been very good to me. I hope people within the club and supporters appreciate that I've been good for them. It doesn't always work out that way. You know, sometimes you have successes and you disappear. I left in the year 2000 and came back in 2003. So it's a thoroughly enjoyable time. You know, it's now part of me. You know, it's part of my family as well. You know, Motherwell is, you know, it's something that's ingrained in us now, just because, you know, you have so many good times and spend so much time here. So who knows what the future holds, Lewis? I mean, brutally honest, no one's any idea. You know, there's no malice in me making a decision. I'm making a decision. Am I being a little bit selfish? Yeah, I am. At times you just have to look after yourself, you know, but you also have to look at others and think what's the best for everyone else. So it's a thoroughly enjoyable times I'll never forget, but who knows if it's finished or not yet? No one knows.
Absolutely. Well, Craigs, it really has been quite a journey from everyone at the club. We wish you all the very best for the future.
Thanks very much, Les. Cheers.